Trading the foreign exchange market carries high risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Trading on margin, utilizing leverage can carry an even higher level of risk that can lead to a complete loss of investment funds. So before deciding to trade the foreign exchange market or using any of our software alert products, you should carefully and diligently consider your personal investment objectives, level of experience, and risk tolerance. There is a possibility that you could potentially sustain significant loss. You should not invest any capital or trade that you cannot afford to lose. It is your responsibility to be aware of and understand all risks associated with foreign exchange trading and to seek professional advice from an independent certified financial advisor if you have any doubts. Auvoria Prime does not exercise trading authority over your trades. You and you alone exercise discretionary trading authority over every trade.
We have the at 4:30 this morning. We had a speech from the Governor Bailey of the Bank of England and the British. So that's a red folder. That's already behind us. Don't have to worry about that right now. And nothing major going on. There's a little orange folder here on the U.S. at 10 o'clock. We'll be done by that time. Fridays are oftentimes this day. One thing about Fridays is we try to give a little bit more time for everybody to ask questions, clarify some things that may be a little bit foggy to them. I'm not real big on trading today because if I'm profitable for the week, I like to not give it all back on Friday. So if you're profitable, just use the time to consolidate your that's where I start recording my trades for the week. I start looking, see how I'm doing as far as profit losses with my Excel spreadsheets, and just start getting set up, closing out the week and trying to get set up for the next week. So like I said, if we don't take any trades today, don't be surprised, and we'll just kind of play it by ear. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask away, so that if there's some questions that you have about how we do things or why we do it, maybe we can take some time today to clarify that. Fridays are always good days for that. So, and let's see, we should be looking at the updates are available. We'll close that. We'll install those later. Today, also at the end of the market today, that's when I usually update my VPS. And so you can just go and just do the little update tabs on that. And it's not a bad idea to update your Windows platform as well. And usually when the markets are closed, that's a good time to do all those updates and just get yourself closed out and ready for the next week. So let's just take a look at this German 30. We do have a 15-minute buy bar on the German 30. We had a bounce arrow, had a little bit of pullback with an arrow right up into the red zone. That's not going to do us much good at this point, but we may well. So now is a good time to be looking to see what's our trading range. And there's a couple different ways you can do this. Let's see, let me get to since we're kind of in this range right here between, we have a lower level red zone, higher level red zone, and trying to see what the range of this is. So I'm going to go from the top of the red zone to let's say the lower wick, which is right about here. And that's about, looks like that's about $180 move. That's quite a significant move. So there's a lot of range in this. And you can see where this is going sideways between these zones, but you can see where it is kind of trending all over the place. It goes up and down, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, goes flat. And so it's doing all kinds of gyrations inside this range. Now, if you get to take this little section right here, which is pretty much where the London opened, you can see where this was actually trending. This was a nice little strong move up. Now, was it really trendy or not? There was a little bit of you can see the trend on it a little bit better on a lower time frame. So if I just take this little zone, let's see, let me get show you the zone I'm going to be looking at here. This little range right in here, you can see that was trending inside the sideways range. So if I go to a lower time frame, you'll probably be able to see where it's trending. Here's a high, a low, higher low, strong move up. Here's a pullback. This is the area that I'm really looking at a lot to see where the strong move up is, where the short pullback is, and then see if it comes up and retests this area. With this area right now, the question would be, is there enough room here? That's about a $32 move, which would, on the German 30, that's a pretty sizable move. And now the question is it going to maintain this lower trend line from where the low was to follow the trend and see where we had the pullback. And now this is the upper part. So really, this is where I'm going to draw the Fibonacci's, right in this area. So I'm going to go from the low to the high, draw my zones. I'm going to go to, get my rectangle up here, mark my upper 25%. This is the daily range here. There's the upper 25. Here's the lower 25. And this is the playground in between. These are my targets. Think of these metal zones where I draw these orange lines as the targets. Think of those as a big magnet that brings the price back to the middle. Generally speaking, the price is going to come back to the middle. So you want to try and catch the extreme and bring it and take that profit from the extreme back into the middle. And then just be happy with that. And then go on to the next one. This at an extreme, you want to see if you can catch it from the extreme back to the middle. But now with the fact that it's still trending up, has a new zone, you don't know where the high is going to be. But the fact we had the strong pullback, and you see it's pulled back to the, it pulled back to the 23% level, and it's stalled right now. So let's go to a lower time frame. Let's go to 1 minute, expand our chart, and see what the price action is on that. And see, we're looking for the trend. And now you can see where there's a strong move up. You can put this little target, we can adjust this trend line to just right about the bottom of this area right here. That's where the trend, this is where it took off, and now it's coming back in. So now the fact we have, actually we can move this up a little bit here. I try to make this as precise as I possibly can. Let's see. Well, we'll just have to see if I can scrunch this up a little bit. Move that up to adjust that. Move this one up to adjust it to the bottom. Just try to make it as close as you can. This doesn't have to be exact, but the more exact, the better. Okay, so now we're on a 1 minute chart. Let's expand it out a little bit so we can see better what we're doing. And so here's the high. It broke out of the upper zone, came back down, formed another green zone here. So right now we're looking at, this is our strong move down, retracement. Strong move down, retracement. This area right in here is significant. So we now have a trend. We have a high, a lower high, a lower high. And so right now, and we're right at the zone. So right now, this is building somewhat of a little bit of a wedge right in here. Here's a low, there's a higher low. And here's the first, there's the pullback, another rejection, here's our wedge. Now, if it breaks through this trend line, it still has to get through this little area right up in here. If that area holds, it could very well start going lower. So this is the area we're going to be looking for the retest of the trend line. This could be where the head fake comes in. It comes up, breaks the trend line, gets caught up into this little area right here, and then it gets rejected. But if it breaks through the bottom, then we're looking at this bottom trend line, and we're also looking at this target. So the further we go out to the right of the screen, the closer this apex between this target zone and the trend line starts to come into play. And you can see right here, we had a little bit of a small little red candle right here at the bottom before this next push up. So this would be another area that we'd be looking at for a possible target or a area where it's going to give you some problems getting through here. That little area right in there, and that's right at the bottom of the green zone. If it can break through that, then we have trend lines, we have moving averages, we have all kinds of things. But right now you can see where everything is sort of consolidating. And so really there's no trade here right now, but we're trying to figure out, now we did have a bounce, arrow, go, but it goes right into the green zone, which developed all the way over here to the left of the screen. So again, there's really no trade. The area is very tight between here and here. That's about $14 move, which is actually a pretty good sized move actually on 1 minute. That's still a pretty good range. But right now there's no real clear indication about which way this thing's going to break. So we wait. Questions?
Not on this one, but I do have a request from Kevin. If you could please analyze the pound Swiss. Apparently he's in a trade that he took with Nathan earlier this morning.
Pound Swiss. Okay, let's take a look at that one. Pound Swiss, we're going to bring it up. Long or short?
I hadn't responded. He hasn't responded. I asked him the time frame and whether it was a buy or sell, but
okay.
I'm waiting for
his. All right, well, I'm going to be looking at, okay, so right now I see this pivot high, this pivot low, and right now it's right up into this red zone. So the fact that it's in this red zone, I'm going to be looking at over here to the left. Now this is the range I'm looking at now, is that there's significant high, significant low. This is be the range I'm going to draw my Fibonacci. So I'm going to go from here. But before I do that, I'm going to get my moving averages up here. So I'm trying to be consistent, trying to do the same thing over and over again. Start with my 15-minute chart, find out where this range is. Out of the way here. So here's my high. So I'm going to bring it up from this little pivot high right here from the left, bring it on down to the bottom, which is right to this zone.
Yeah, he's in a cell, just so you're aware.
He's in a cell, okay. Oh, he's in a cell. Okay, well, it's coming up to the upper part of the range, so I'm not sure how deep the drawdown you're in.
I'll tell you, he's giving me his entry.
Okay.
Sorry. He got in at 1.2661.
Okay, let me 1.26, you say?
Yeah, 2661.
2661. Ooh, that's all the way down here.
That,
you sold right near the
zone
pullback there. Okay. So, all right, let's see what we can do. Let's go with 126.61, you say. So it's going to be right about in, let's see. I'll make this one a little different color. Parameter 126.61. I'm going to make this a blue ones because that's usually my entry color. And that's where you enter. So you entered right in here at the pull. You sold right here at this zone.
Yeah.
And my guess is that you were probably looking at maybe the induction or the here's the overnight high, here's the overnight low. You had the break, you sold, came right back into this green zone. There really wasn't, I'm not sure when this zone was developed. It looks like it should have been from way over here. So you're in a pretty good drawdown on this one.
I'm assuming it probably popped up with when those two red wicks popped down into
it. Yeah, you're about 35 pips. Now, are you a swing trader? I'm assuming you're probably swing trading here. You're probably looking at this for the target. So you got in right at the middle of this whole range. So I'm going to draw my zone ranges here. If you can handle the drawdown, I think you're probably going to be okay. At least it should get you back to break even. You may even want to think about taking another sell position up here at the top and dollar cost average from here to, that would maybe get you a little bit more closer to where the 61% line is.
Yeah, he believes it was on the Asian breakout.
My orange chart. There's my zone. Here's my 50% line. Here's my, yeah, so you're really kind of right up into you're right up in this upper 25% right now. You have a red zone here, you have a red zone here. What I would possibly be looking at doing is wait until this thing pulls back, retest, give us our little trend line up, our little wedge. We did, right now we have a little bit of a higher high from where, this was the high from yesterday's high. It is making new highs a little bit right now. So right now you have to wait and see where this thing comes up, and then you want to be looking to draw a little bit of wedge up on that. So wait till it finds a high, wait for the pullback. I would like to see a pullback below the 23% line. Then you're going to be looking for another pullback, causing a high, a lower high, back into perhaps we don't know where this thing was, how far down this thing's going to go. So you have to wait and sit till it gets down. It probably will test this little area right in here. So you might have a little, this was a nice little wick on a 15-minute chart. Let's see. I'd be looking at this pivot here and find out where the price comes up, where it comes back down, where these intersect to a higher pivot low. Actually, preferably, maybe even, it may make another high, then come up again, come back down. Once this area here gets broken, I'll be looking for this move to this side, and then looking for a lower high from wherever this high may be, looking for this pattern. So now you have a high, a lower high, and this is where I'd be looking at maybe trying to take it short, and then maybe you can get yourself into a little bit better position to dollar cost average and get yourself profitable somewhere back in this area. There's a very good chance it's going to come up and retest this zone right in here. The biggest question that you have to ask yourself is how much heat can you take in this kitchen as it goes up higher? With this German 30, the German 30 is making all-time highs, as was the S&P stock market. And here's the all-time high right here. So here's a high, here's a lower high, here's your, on a higher time frame, here's your trend line that you're looking at. From here, here's the hit, there's a retest. This thing could very well go all the way up to retest this trend line up into this area, because this was the high, this was the all-time high, pulled back, came back up. This little pivot broke down. Now we have a lower channel. So it is making, once this pivot got broken over here, you can see we're starting to make a, here's where the pivot got broken, and now it's making lower lows, lower low, lower low to your trend. So this is, on a higher time frame, this is your channel. You have your highs, here's your low, and it's going to start going back and forth in between. Now, what you don't know is how high is it going to go. It could, if these, depending on what kind of strength we have, you could very potentially get all the way up to here. In which case, then you'd be, what you can be looking at now is you can be looking at your fib lines rather than using the fact, here's a high, here's a low. This one's still being respected, so take this one to here. If this gets broken, then you have to take this Fibonacci line and move it over to where the new highs are before it gets to this area. Or you could just take it from, let me go, redo my fibs line here. So if this, where this fib line was, if this gets broken, then I'd be redoing my fib line from this point to this point, see where the next higher 25% zone is. But right now it's respecting this little zone right in here. It's respecting that. So if you take this, just redraw this fib line here. So now we have this one. To here. Here was the anchor. Here's a hit. Here's a hit. This respected this trend line. Now it's breaking this. The fact it's breaking this trend line, coming on up, this is your, this could be your trap. Over here. And this is probably in your upper 25%, which is where we drew it before. So this right now, this area is still being respected. If it breaks through, comes back down, retest this, now you could be looking at a higher trend. Look at this move right here. Strong move up, pull back. Strong move up, pull back. If it pulls back, you could be going up higher. Now, what you can do is if you're short and the thing still keeps on trending up, if you have a international broker, you can take an opposite position without closing out your sell, stabilize your drawdown, and then you can maybe take this to the high as it goes up. The problem with that is you have to know where to unleash it. You have to know where you need to take your profit from your stabilization and then go up higher. Right now, it still has some steam, but it's got this area it's got to get through. I would expect a little bit of rejection back into this zone here. So if you're getting too concerned about the drawdown, you can take an opposite position on a pullback to try and take if you're short here, you can take a long position on a pullback and then maybe catch this little move up. If it breaks, if you get a pullback and it comes up here and test it, close out your pullback, profitable. That way it helps offset some of your drawdown. And if it goes up higher, then just do the same thing over and over again. But right now we're looking at this little area, right? This is what, from the bigger picture standpoint, we're looking at this trend line. It's breaking this trend line. And we have a little bit of it could very well do something. This thing could be channeling up into this area. So that's all I can say. Right now, it's not a good short. I would say it's a better short up here than it was down here. Hindsight 2020. But right now, I would not want to be getting out of my position, my short position. I'd be more apt to be maybe adding to that position with a very tight stop.
Now,
wait for the pullback, wait for a retrace, and then take it short again. That would be this is kind of what you're looking at here. I don't know if that helps you or not.
did you guys understand when Al was saying about taking another position and cost averaging your position so you can get out of both earlier? If anybody needs an explanation for that, just let us know, okay?
Yeah, I can go a little more detail with that. Now, if you're in with a five, let's say you have a 4/10 of a position short right here, and it comes back up, and now you're in drawdown, and it's coming up to an area where you expect it, where it's hitting a trend line, where you're coming down. Like this area, you could possibly have been looking at taking it short, but you didn't get the bounce. I'm waiting to see where there's a bounce off of this trend line, and as long as this bounce comes before the top of this point right here, where in this zone, if the bounce comes somewhere into this zone, this blue zone, and you get a strong rejection of that zone. In this case, it might be this upper trend line here. But right now, if it gets inside this red zone and it pulls back, you could take another 4/10 of position short. Now you're short 0.8 positions, but you just dollar cost average your sell here, your sell here, your break even point is going to be somewhere in between. When it comes back down and retests this bottom trend line, you've mitigated, your higher short is profitable, your lower short's not profitable, you're back into near a break-even point. And that's where, that's sort of like double downing. You're taking a short on an up position, take another short. When it pulls back, you're back to break even. That's pretty much what variable and gearbox does. It's taking shorts in an uptrend, it's taking longs in a downtrend. And as it goes down, you're taking larger positions on the opposite, on the wrong direction, but you get the highest value position size up here, a lower position size down here. Like you might have like a 0.2 here, you may have a 0.3 here, you may have a 0.4 here. Collectively, you have a 0.7, but your highest position size is at near the top. When it pulls back, the highest one gets the overall profitable. And that's pretty much what gearbox and variable will do. And that's about all I can say about that. It's not a great, right now, it's not a bad place for a short, in all honesty, but let's look at so let me redraw this whole thing here, since we're looking at this one. Reload my chart. And so what we're looking at is we're looking at where's the high. Right now, this was the high, it's broken. This is still respected. So in fact, this high has been broken. I've got to go over to the next pivot high. Scrunch this up a little bit. Let's see if I can. So this high got broken. It didn't close above here, but it did wick above it. So I'm going to have to go with this pivot here to this pivot. Now there's another thing you could do. But let me do this one. Let's go from this low to this high. Let me just redraw this again. I'm going to show you another little trick. I don't talk about this one very often, but it's another thing to consider. Okay, we had this low to this high, and it just wicked, and but we have a zone right here. So let's just take our Fibonacci from the low to the high, and we mark our 25% zone. So let's go with, this is just another technique that I use occasionally. I don't talk about this very much, but here's our upper 25%. So now if we have, here's the upper 25%, what if we take this zone, this little, and let's move it up to the 25% above the line. That's our overshoot. That's a 25% overshoot. And you can see right now the 25% overshoot, you can see right now, this, you can see where this middle dot is. That's basically your 88.2% overshoot. So you got a little bit of an overshoot. Right now we do not have a, do we have a, on a 15-minute chart, we have a close. We do not have a close above this wick. So right now, this is where the sellers came in, pushed it down. Buyers take it back up. The sellers are looking over here to push it back down again. Now, if this is the upper 25%, so see if it goes, it may overshoot, come back down, and give us our reversal pattern. Here's our, here's our markers. I would still be looking at this thing coming back down, at least to retest somewhere around this 23%. But here's my, this is my range marker. This is where all the action was. Price came up, came back, tested the zone. Went out, came back, tested the zone. So right now, this 38 to 61% area right in here, you can see where the 50% of this move has been holding. It hasn't really closed below this 50% line. And then we'll draw our lower 25. So this is a range we're playing in, and right now it's playing in the upper half of this range. You can draw a trend line from the bottom. Here's a hit, here's a hit, here's our trend line. Anytime it comes back and retests the trend line, you can maybe take another buy position right here. And so right now, here's our playground. And you can see right now, this target zone, this first target zone has been violated, but also we don't know if it's going to come back down and retest this. If it retests this area, it will probably make a higher high. It may wick down a little bit into this, between these two levels. It may wick down in there, and that may give you your head fake. But if it wicks down, closes, Then you can come back and look at it to retest the trend line and then for it to go down lower. And let's just mark the upper 25% here. Right now, this red zone is still valid. So I'm just going to move this back down to the 25% zone. And just know that this red zone is still a valid area. And so I'm waiting for it to come back down, maybe retest the trend line, and come back up higher. If it breaks this pivot, it probably come back and retest the trend line to go lower. But once it makes a high, and I have the strong pullback, I'm waiting for it to retest this trend line. I'm waiting to form a lower high, and we don't always know how low that lower high is going to be, but this is where you're looking for that first pullback, and now you start looking for that 5-wave motion to the downside. Right now, it's still in an uptrend. There's no real clear indication. There's no strong rejection of a price. I want to see the strong rejection of a price, and then come back and retest that price area. So right now, there's it's still basically just retesting this area. Let's see, how's our German 30 doing? Anything new on that? Let's see, is it testing this area? It hasn't really done much at all here. Keep in mind, the shaded area is the upper 25% of the big move. Here's our target zones. The first target is going to be this first line at the 38% retracement off of this move down here. It actually came down, retraced 38% of the up move, and now it's going up to the upside. I'd say this thing has some strength to the upside. If we look at our heat map, let's see where the euro is. The euro is weak, the euro is weak, the euro is weak. I would give this a favor to the upside push, buy and pullbacks. But right now it's pulling back. It's testing this zone. If it can break through this zone, it's probably going to go up a little bit higher. The fact the euro is weak, the German 30 is generally stronger. And so we're on a 1-minute chart. You'll see right now I'm looking to see, we did have this break. We did have the break of this downward trend. Now I'm looking for the pullback, say right around to this point right here somewhere. Using this for the reference, the upper reference. So here's the strong move up. Here's the pullback, 38% pullback. Now it's retesting this level. It's retesting this 11, the halfway mark between the 23.6, there's 11.8, and then there's the 0 line. See if it comes back and retests this. If it retests that, we could be looking for it to go short. So this is where we're starting to look for a reversal on this, is what I'm looking for. This would be the left shoulder of the M. This part, here's the bottom of the M. Now it's coming up to retest, get the right shoulder of the M. And then if this is a reversal pattern, you can start getting a high, then you start getting a strong move down and then another move up. So if it retests this trend line, if it retests that, with a strong move down, get the retracement back up. Get another little, and then from this to here, then I'd be looking at another fib line. I got my strong move down. And I'm looking for the 61 to 78% retracement somewhere around in here. Which follows with this zone. So that would be, this thing would still have some value to it. Move that over. Here's this would be my zone to enter it short, and this is where I'd be looking for the another strong move down to our target. That's the pattern I'm looking for right now. We don't know where it's going to stop. We don't know where this big move to the upside is going to be. It could be anywhere. It could be anywhere between just lower than the zero line to wherever it decides to, wherever we get the strong rejection. Now I'm looking for not just a little gradual one. I want to see a strong push down. See, like this one here. You can even almost do this. Take this. Here's our strong move down. Here's our retracement. So now what I'm looking at, I'm taking this, wherever this thing happens, you can almost even look at that same angle, wherever the peak of this thing ends up being. Strong move down. Retracements. The first retracement is probably going to be a little bit deeper than this little one here. And then the rejection. Okay, and that's pretty much what I'm looking for. I don't want to see a real gradual rejection. I want to see a strong push down. That's a strong push down rejection. And you can see if you look at this distance where that one was, oftentimes you'll get that 1-to-1 from the pullback. We have this range is where the strong move down, the rejection, come back down. This would be the target. I didn't quite make that target. It bounced off a little bit more. But a lot of times you'll get that 1-to-1 move on that. Any questions? Did I confuse everybody?
Nobody's saying anything.
I guess that's a good thing, I guess.
Yeah.
That means the wheels are spinning. So that's what we're looking at.
Can we have a look at the S&P?
We can. One of my favorite ones. The S&P was very volatile yesterday.
Yeah.
This could make a lot of money. You could lose a lot of money. Let's see. Again, I think it made all-time new highs yesterday. Let's see.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it made an all-time high yesterday. Here is where the market opened. Let's see, where is it? Today's Friday, Thursday. The market opened. Let's see where my 9 o'clock is. 9 and 7 is 16. It's around 1600. In fact, let me just let me see if I can find on my trading view here. Let me get a trading view chart up. Trading view. Let's see. Let's go with the. Let's do this one. This is the S&P futures. Let me go to the S&P index one here. Should have it someplace.
You were just on it.
Was I?
Yeah. US 500.
Oh, here we go. Thank you. Thank you, Eva. All right, so let me just clear all this stuff out. Here's let's go to 1 hour chart. Just easier drawing on this one. Let's see, where's my little target here? There we go. Let me take these day breaks out of here. Session breaks. Okay, here's what we have with the S&P. Spread it out. Now I'm on a 1 hour. Let's go to a daily chart here. You see, this was the new high yesterday. So before then, this was the high that we had. This was on what day? This was the 10th. So actually made a new high on the 10th. strong pull. So right now, this is the range where we were. This is our trend line. And what a lot of times what I like to do is see where this middle moving average is, and see where the previous high was before it crossed, where the low was before it crossed back again. So this could have been this could have been my Fibonacci range earlier. Oops, wrong one. Release that. This could have been my Fibonacci range before. This was the previous high. Oh, come on. Too low. This is my higher time frame. I'm gonna make this my higher time frame. And you can see where we had wicks up. This is where that extra 20, that little upper 25% was. And I'm going to slide this on up. So here's my, from this point to here, by 25%, you can see where it came back down, pulled back out. Now it broke it. When it broke it, I'm gonna take this 25% and move it up. You can see it actually wicked above it, couldn't hold it. Now it has a little bit of a wedge right in this area. So let's just take a look at this little area spot right in here. This was yesterday's price action. I'm on a 4-hour chart. This is yesterday's price action. Let's go to a 15-minute chart and just take a look at this part right in here. So this is basically the overshoot of where that original high was, made a new high, pulled back. So here's our trend line from the higher time frame trend. It's making new highs, had made a high, made a low, pulled back, a little bit lower. There's a little bit of a trend right here where it was rejected. So this is a real valuable area. So let's just take this now to this area, because this is my lower 25. Here's my overshoot 25. This is my new range. And let's draw Fibonacci. I'm gonna make this one, this area. I'm gonna take this off. Move that. So this is my new range right now. It's all in the overshoot of the higher time frame. And let me see if I can change the background of this. There we go. And so now if I draw my Fibonacci with this, between this range.
You might want to lock that, Al, before you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I will. Good idea. I'm going to lock this.
I'm bad at doing that.
I'm going to lock this. Oops. I'll lock that. Here's my range. Here's another overshoot area. Now I'm on a 15-minute chart. But this is the range that we've had. Let me get the session breaks back on here again. Now you can see this is the new day. This was Thursday. This was Thursday's action. And you can see it made a high. When it opened up yesterday at 9 o'clock, at 9:30, where was it? Right about in here. This is where it opened yesterday at 9:30. It just rocketed up. And it came right back and pulled back right into this area. Made the new low, and right now, so this is the playground that it's in. This is where it's playing right now. And right now it's in the upper 25% with a lower, if you take this wick here to here, you have a little bit of a lower high. So but we don't know if this thing's going to pull back strong again today, but right now you can see here's a high, here's a lower high. It has rejection. So basically there's some sellers right up in this area coming back down. Let me just move this over. Unlock this. I'm going to bring this on over to the high. And now you can see it's starting to come out of our upper 25% zone. Here's the upper 25. There's the upper 25. Here's the lower 25. Plus we have our middle thirds. Let's go to a lower time frame. You can see right now, now it's trending. Here's a high, strong move down, small pullback, strong move down, strong pullback, strong move down, pull back into this area. If I draw the Fibonacci from here to where the new low is, you're probably going to find it a zone right where these are going to be hitting. I'll lock this. Now I'm going to draw my Fibonacci, high to low. Now we don't know where this thing is going to be. Right now it's still in the upper 25. It's still in that blue range, but it's starting to test the bottom of that range right there. Move this into my lower time frame zones. So now I know the difference. So right here is the middle zone. That this is a 61 to 38. This would be the area where I would be expecting this thing to pull back.
And that's an anticipation of it going further down.
That's anticipation. Now, as this thing goes further down, if it goes further down, well, now I've got to readjust this thing down to, I'll just keep on readjusting it because we don't know where this thing's going to come back and how deep it's going to go. And then however deep it goes, this is going to be the middle zone. So right now it's testing. This is our 25% of the big picture move. You can see that nice little move, strong move down, pull back, strong move down, pull back. Here's our trend line. Here's our trend. There's the anchor. First hit, lower high, I'll move it over. This was sort of like a near hit. This trend line is still valid. This little pullback. Let's see, where's that? I'm just going to confuse you here. Let me take this one off. So right now, strong move down. You can see this point is being rejected. So right now, here's the bottom of this move. I'm still looking at this area. These three are my target zones. Here's the 23%. Remember, I usually say a lot of times the pullback I want to see between the 23 and the 50.
Yeah.
Let's just change the border on this so you can see this a little bit better. And see if it pulls back into here. Here's the high, lower high, lower high. Here's our trend line. Is it going to come up and retest the trend line? Now look at this moving average. I'm on a 1 minute chart. Look at the 5 and the 13. Is it going to cross or not? If the 5 crosses and closes above the 13, then I'm going to be seeing this thing could be going up higher until it crosses back again. You can see like here, the 5 crossed the 13, came back up. That was the pullback, crossed back over again. Here's the cross. Here's a strong move down, closed below the moving averages. This would have been the entry right here to take it short. We're looking at the same formation here. Here's our upper moving averages. That's a pullback. Now, if this does not close above the 13, if it pulls up, gives us we have green candles. Right now it's giving a red candle, right bouncing off of this area right here. Here's the moving averages. And we're going to see if it crosses up here. If it comes up, gives me a red candle to cross and close, then I can use this part as my target, or as my stop up in this, above this trend line, get the close below.
Looks like 13 is trying to cross the 5.
It's trying to cross. Just expand it out so you can really see what's going on here. Each one of these pullbacks, and I can even, as this thing's trending, and I get the strong move down in the pullback, I can be moving this thing down. A lot of times I like keeping at least the one before that. Here's my 61, here's my 38, here's my zone. This was the pullback, broke, coming back to retest this area. There's a drop, base, drop, coming back to, now we have the 5 crossing the 13. So right now, we don't know if this thing is going to come up and how high up it's going to go. So really, I'm waiting for this thing to test a support, which is right now, it's testing the trend line. And I'm waiting for it to get rejected. It pulled back to 61, still respecting the trend line. I don't want to see it cross it. I don't want to see a break above here. If I take it short, I want my stop above this pivot. Here's my upper 25%. I want this area to hold on a pullback. If you pull back right now, here's our trap. This could be our trap right here. We have a trend line, comes back up, breaks the trend line, comes back up here, but still has to get through this little wick right here. If you were to take it short in this area, you would have a very tight stop. It's 42.45. You're looking at a $1 move to the stop. If this pivot holds, you could enter here. You could have your stop, a very tight stop up here, and then you can look for it to come all the way down and make another trend to the downside. But I would prefer to see this green come back and cross, and then use that for my high for my stop. Again, this could be a trap right in here. Closed above, came back. It's retesting. If it comes back into the wedge. So right now we have a little bit of a wedge here. So this made a new high. I'll keep that. Lock that. Here's our overshoot channel. Here's the trap rejected. You had to break, come back. Now it's retesting. Now, what we don't know is this thing going to rally, base, rally, or is it going to be rally, base, retest? If I were to be looking at this, if I take this thing short, I'm going to be looking at my first target's got to be down here. So I wanted this pullback to be strong enough to be able to get into the trade with a crossover and still have room for a target for a short win. If it breaks here, we can keep on going down. There's a high, drop. This could be the target down. This would be my first target. Actually, my first target would be the 0 line. Right now, we don't know. I don't want to be taking this thing short yet because we don't know where this thing's going to stop. It still has some momentum. Moving averages are still crossing over. If this area breaks and comes back down, now I'm looking at another trend line coming. Now I'm looking at this being the push up, base, retest. And then go up, then possibly go up higher. So right now we don't know which way it's going to go. I want to make sure that this move is high enough to where I can get this area to retest and still be able to get in after moving averages cross. If it's not, then the pullback wasn't strong enough. Right now it's testing our trap. If this pivot breaks, then I'm going to be looking for a new, then I'll be reversing my Fibonacci's and looking for the pullback to the bottom 25% to take it long. Is this making any sense?
Making sense to me.
Things you're looking for reversals, but you're also looking for the trend. And we all also know that where this thing is, where our on the higher time frame, you can see it bounced off the higher time frame. This is our first target here. We have 3 targets, higher time frame targets here, here, and here. This move here never got out of the upper 25%, which means it still has some upward push. But it's going to be range bound. Right now it's range bound in the upper 25% of the higher time frame, but it's trending. But what happens is it's trending, but you don't know where it's going to be, where it's going to be making low. Right now it's still making lower highs, still in our trap, until it breaks this pivot. Actually, until it breaks this pivot right here, and we have another little trap right up in here.
So the expectation here in this trap is that basically they're just shaking out the ones that think it's going to go long, the buyers, right?
They're looking for stops. They're looking for stops. So if I get in here, I'd have to have my stop above. I'd probably have my stop somewhere above this trend line over here. Above this candle, above the trend line. I'd probably have my stop up here. If I take it short here, I have my stop up here, and my target would be down here. So if I got in, say, at this area, I'd be looking at this being my target. I'd be looking at 42, call it 42.46, target 42.43. That's a 1 minute chart. That's a $3 move. But with a $3 move, and you're looking at let's say this would be your stop.
Oh, there it goes. Look.
But now see, so right now, this little area here, so this trap is now done. Right now it's making new highs. So at this point, I'm going to be looking at reversing the position. And now here's my lower 25% to retest this area. It broke through this trap. So I'm going to delete this one. That's gone. This one's still holding. This one's about to be broken. The trend line has been broken. So now here's our break of the trend line. Come back down and see if it retests the trend line. If it retests the trend line, This one's not valid. That one's gone. So right now I'm looking, here's my middle thirds. I'll draw the box. Here's the middle third of this move. Coming back down to retest. Let's see if I have anything set up here on paper trade in here. So right now with the S&P, I'm looking at this thing to break to the upside. Let's see if we go back over to our charts over here. S&P 1 minute. Here's our move right now. This is the move we're looking at right now. Here's our zone. I'm looking for a pullback. Where it stops, nobody knows, but let's just take it right here. Get my zones, get my upper and 20, I want to get my middle markers on now, wherever they may be. Here's my 38. This thing's got some push to the upside. Now I'm still waiting for it to be able to get into a pullback. I don't want to try and jump on a rocket ship. My 50. So right now we're making new highs. And actually what is happening right now is coming up to retest the upper 25% right now. So here we go. Here's the, you just have to be patient enough to wait till you get the opportunity to get in.
I think lots of us tend to want to jump in it when it's doing what it's doing right now.
Yeah, that's
And
the human nature.
Yeah, and that could prove to be dangerous.
And that's why so many people lose money, because that's exactly what the masses do.
Because you know it's always going to pull back, so you're best off waiting for that opportunity of when it does pull back.
Right. Now, this was a strong move, but where were we able to get into this? Because it never really pulled back enough to be able to get into it without the confirmation that wasn't going to just bounce, because we had this little trend right here. Here's the trend that got broken. Well, by the time it broke the trend, you didn't really have the opportunity on a 1 minute chart. It's really hard to get the confirmation to that it was coming in. So right now I'm looking at this area again to retest the high, retest this upper 25, then give me an opportunity to get in. Here's the upper 25, lower 25. We'll reset again, we had a low, a high, higher low, lower. Right now we're looking at a wedge on a higher time frame. Actually, this is on a lower time frame actually. But here's our low, here's where it broke, strong move down, broke the pivot, came back up, tested it. This was the channel that it's now breaking out of, going back to the upside. So right now I'm still looking at buying pullbacks up until it gets into, let's move these over to, here's my upper 30, there's 38. There's my 50. There's my 61.
So is it pulling back right now then, Al?
It is pulling back a little. Yeah, it is pulling back right now. So let me get my fib line here. Here's the high, here's the pull, here's my 23 right here, here's my 50. And let's see, the S&P, let's see where the, let me get my heat map up. Let's see where the US dollar is. The dollar is strong, 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 strong. The S&P should not be going up at this point. So this may be looking at a,
Did it jump into the trap, maybe, that you had drawn out before?
well, I didn't really have, it already passed through all the traps. I had a trap here, it had a trap here, it went through, blew through all of that. So right now it's in the upper 25% of this move to here, it's on the upper 25%. Which is this blue zone right in here. Which is actually the overshoot area where it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
I say with the dollar being as strong as it is, I question whether or not this thing's going to go up much higher. Right now, it would be a safer short up in this area because of this. It broke. These are the targets that it broke on the downside. These are the targets that broke on the upside. And right now it's outside of the range, but it hasn't gotten quite to the extreme I'd like to see it before to pull back. There's a channel. There's the high, higher high. And then we have the other channel. There's the low. And this is the channel that it's in right now. I'd still be more apt to take it short up here, mainly because of the strength of the dollar for one, and then looking for these for the targets. But if it pulls back on a 1 minute chart, if it pulls back and the green line, if it pulls back and this green moving average can stay above the yellow 13, then you have room to the upside for, you get that'd be about $1 move on this one. That'd be $2. That'd be almost $3 move up to the red zone. We do have a bounce arrow go. We had the arrow on the, we weren't watching the arrow at the time, we were drawing it out on the trading view. But this could have been an arrow, but this on a 1 minute chart. If we have a 5 minute chart, let's see what it looks like on a 1 minute. Here's the pullback. Right now it's still kind of range bound. Again, this is where it gets a little tough sometimes to get, especially with the S&P, to be able to get in at the right time, because it gives you a lot of false signals if you're too early with it. Strong move up, pull back. Strong bounce off of this trend. This created the trend line. You can see it made a pivot low, reject it. Lower low, lower low, lower low, rejected it. So we have this trend line coming down. So we have a channel going up between this one, and we also have a channel going down between this one and this strong move down. Where do you get in? I have no idea. I stay away from it. Here's the point of indecision. If you get in short up here, you got to be able to get out down here. You can get in, if we can get a crossover of, you see where your moving averages are. Moving averages are ways down here still because this was such a strong move up. By the time it comes back down, get your crossover, you're already back to into your other zone. So there's no, to get the confirmation, there isn't enough range to be able to make that happen. when you really look at it, we are in a very tight range. From the high to the low, you're only looking at a $6 move. And if you're trying to, let's see, what's the spread on this right now? Let me see. Trading view. If you look and see what the spread, let's see, wrong chart. Hang on a second, let me find this. Here we go. We have about a little bit less. We have basically an 80-cent spread move on the spread. So the spread on this one's good. One thing I found out with the UK 100, their spread was like $3.50 spread. It's really tough to get your target with a $3.50 spread if you're in a tight range. This one's not too bad, but you're still looking at a very tight range. You're looking at a $3 range on this, or $6 range. And the average range on the S&P is, let's see what it is at here. 32 is, well, yesterday was like about a $42 range. This is like nothing compared to what the range is. And this where it can be very tough to get profitable without getting whipsawed.
Can we check out German 32 when you have a moment, Al?
Which one?
German 30, there's been a request to have a look at it.
German 30, here's our trend. So we had, this was our projection, I think. Came up to the upper 25. Let's take some of these off here. See how this thing's just been going sideways for so long for last, oh, let's see, about the last 25 minutes, it's just been range bound within German 30, let's see, that range bound, let's see, 15, 58, call it 58 to 44, about $12 move. Now we're getting a crossover here. We had the move up. Had the pivot. Still making higher lows. It did break the trend line. Here is your anchor. Here is your hit. A couple of hits, broke the trend line. Have the crossover. We have a small little target here. This thing could be a nice little target, maybe down to this one. That'd be $15 move. And let's see where the euro is. If the euro is strong, oh, get my other chart on. There we go. The euro is weak. The euro is weak. Euro is weak. Again, it's kind of range bound. The euro is weak, so it should be going up. This would be a pullback. Anchor, hit, higher low, still a higher low. A lot of times I like to, when I know that there's a low here and we have a trend, have a little target, I just keep it right here at the corner of the target. If it breaks this area and it breaks the trend line, then we could be looking at this one. So now I'm be looking at my Fibonacci's. We already have, it's coming out of our upper 25%. And I'm looking to redraw this to the downside with the pullback. Downside. We have the crossover. I want to see the pullback with these moving averages staying in the right order. This would be my target. If we don't get a bounce, if this thing penetrates this, then it's going to go down to this target right here. I'm looking for the pullback coming in from 23 to 50. My 23 to 50 zone right in there, depending on where the pullback, if it bounces. Right now, this zone is still in effect. It's still holding it. Here's a down arrow. That's got some strength to it.
Al, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
No, I'm not. I'm just looking
Okay.
and
It's unusual for it to
but
be
it's,
silent.
yeah. So here's, okay, so right now this zone is holding. See where the pullback is going to be. This is one reason why a lot of times I like using sell stops and buy stops, because that way as it pulls back, here's my 23% zone right in here. As it pulls back, if it comes back in, let's say right now, check the moving averages. Green's still below the yellow, pulling back. Now with this one, I would probably be looking at this zone's being, broke the trend line here. This zone's still holding. We have our pullback, pulling back into our 23 to 50. Right now it's at the 38. Here's my 50. I'm looking for the close of a 1 minute close of a red candle with the moving averages still staying in the right direction. Right now it's starting to pull away a little bit. The green's pulling away from the yellow. Yellow's still pointing down. I'm going to put a trade with a sell stop below this area. If it comes back down, and if it comes back down, it should get me into the trade. If it has enough momentum to the downside. If this strong move down, this is a strong pullback. We should get another push to the downside, and then that should give us into our targets, depending on how deep this thing goes. It goes up, right now it's going up into the 38.50. We did get a close above the 38. So if it gets, so we get a wick above the 50, 60 would be the middle of the 61 to 75 would be my stop range. And my target would be the 50 point of the exterior down in this area. How deep it pulls back is going to show how deep it's going to go. So right now I'd be looking at this area for my target if it gets me in the trade. Right now, pull back to 61. Move it up here. Move this one up here. I like this strong move down. I should probably move this trend line down to the bottom of where this was. Here's a drop, base, drop. It's retesting this area right in here, which is right where my zone is. The green hasn't crossed the yellow. Red candle close. Maybe move this up a little bit. And we wait. Still not in the trade. Came up to the 61, wicked up, red candle. Now here's a rally, basing. We'll see if it rallies again. If it rallies again, then we could be looking for, this would be the target. But it's getting to be kind of close to whether or not to take the trade. At 52, target 44. I mean, that would be a $7 $8 move, that'd be reasonable. But remember, we said that when we looked at the heat map, we said that the euro was weak, which means it has more room to the upside, which means this trade really may not, this probably wouldn't work. In fact, I'm going to pull this trade.
All right, the S&P is just taking off the other way.
So you see what's happening. It's like that's how these things can really. I mean, you say, oh, it's going to break down. So you get in short. Well, guess what happens? Now they're looking for some more stops. Gets in long. Oh, it's going to go up higher. You get in, try and jump on it. You don't, and you get the pullback. If you go short here, you get the pullback. Now you're starting to hit your stop. So right now, let's go to a 5-minute chart. Strong move up, pull back. Let's take this all the way down to here. Actually, we already have one here. It's retesting the ultimate right now. Here's a little pullback of the on a 5-minute. Here's the green pullback. Green, green, green. Did not cross the yellow. Had a pullback right here. May want to be looking at reversing this. But right now, it's in lower highs, higher lows, and you're in a wedge. You don't know which way this thing's going to go. The tighter it gets into the end of the wedge, the less room you have to get any profit out of this thing. But this is how you can help keep yourself out of harm's way. If it does what you expect it to do and gives you the room to do it, then take the trade. Until then, just let it settle down until it does. So we had a couple of trade potentials, but they didn't work out. And we're glad we didn't get in. It saves a lot of emotional inventory. I do like these buy and sell stops when it starts to pull back, and you have to, if it has the momentum on the pullback, it'll get you in your trade. And if you have enough room to the zero line on the pullback, then that's your first target. If it doesn't pull back enough to do that, then you just stay out of it. Maybe Joel. Any other ones we should be looking at here in the meantime?
Just a quick question. I just wanted your take on what the S&P is doing. On the 1 minute, you can see, not at this moment because now it's kind of broken out, but when it's doing all these little dojis, you have to kind of, on the 1 minute, you can't see it on the 5.
Let me redraw this thing so we can clean it up a little bit.
So, I mean, if you zoom in, you can see there's the one big green candle, and then there's a whole whack of little dojis right beside it.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah.
Yep.
What is it?
That's basically that's where the buyers and the sellers were in equilibrium. There was a battle raging right there between the buyers and sellers, and there's only like 1 or 2 ticks away. And actually, that's basically you had your sellers here, your buyers down here, and the sellers are filling the buyers are filling the sellers. And it was just, this is a strong little zone right here because that's where there was equilibrium. Now there's a breakout to the upside. And it's probably going to come and retest that area. You get all these little dojis. That's a strong area right there where there's equilibrium. Here's our trend. Here's our upper trend on the 1 minute. Here's our pivot high. Here's our pushback zone. If it breaks through here, this would be the target. 10. But right now, this is going to be actually like a magnet. Here, the buyers took over, came back in. Now, if the sellers take over, it's going to drive them down here. And let's see, still basically we have green, green, red, 1 minute. Let's see what it looks like on the 15-minute here.
I think all time frames are showing a lot of green.
Yeah, I mean we're really kind of range bound at the very high. The biggest question is it going to make a new high or not? Here's the high. Here's the ultimate high right there. Made a little bit lower high, rejected. Right now, this little wick right here, here are the wicks, 15-minute chart. These are 15-minute wicks. Here's the high. This is as high as it came before it rejected. This is the supply zone right in here, where these little wicks are. It did close a little bit higher. I think this thing's looking like it wants to go higher. The dollar is strong. Not in agreement. But it's knocking at the door of the weekly high, all-time high, yesterday's high. You see the whole range, the money zone range is lower than we had a big range yesterday.
It's got to correct itself sooner or later. You know what it does?
Oh yeah, it will, and it will. It will.
And that's when you don't want to be stuck in a buy when that happens.
Exactly. So right now it's still kind of range bound. There's our 25. It's range bound, and it's got a lot of upward pressure, but it's having a hard. The sellers are starting to come in. It's been hanging out in the upper 25% pretty much. It did break. There's a high. I mean, it did. This little wick was all of yesterday's stuff yesterday. I mean, if you watched this candle yesterday, it's like strong move down, came back, and then just rocketed back up, and it came right back and tested this. Here's our lower 25. This was the reject. So this area is holding. And you could draw this range, and you can keep this range in there for probably all next week, and you'll probably still be range bound into this range. 38, 50. It's going to come back to that 38 and 50, 61 area. It's going to come back there again. Just a question of when. How much higher is it going to go before it comes back in here? If it makes new highs, these ranges are going to change. The bottom's not going to change until it breaks the bottom.
My eye is seeing kind of like an upward wedge forming there.
This is the range. Yep, there is a little bit of a wedge right here. Here's a high, here's a lower high. But until we don't know that this is going to be the lower high until this pivot right here gets rejected. Let me say that again. Let me point it out to you again. Let me go to a 5-minute chart. Maybe that might help a little bit. See a little bit easier. There we go. Here's our strong move up. Here's the pullback. We tested this trend line or this moving average. If this high gets broken, then we have a trend. Here's the low. Here's the hit. There was a rejection off that. There's the rejection. That's why this is the hit. If this little pivot comes down and gets broken, that would be more of the sign for the reversal. But right now it's making, until this gets broken, we don't know where it's going to go. So we have to wait for that thing to pull back. We don't know where this thing's going to go. Strong move up, pull back, range bound. We'll see what happens. And with that, we're pretty much out of time here today.
Yeah, that was a good session, huh?
So we didn't take any trades, which I wasn't expecting to. And I said Fridays I like to just use go over a little bit more of the technicals, just to try and draw out my thought patterns is what I'm looking for. I draw out what I'm looking for. If it doesn't happen, I don't take the trade. If what I draw out happens, then I can take the trade. I'm looking for a picture and a range inside that picture. Right now with this S&P, we'd have to get in short. Looking, this would be the target. And the range on that would be, this would be that'd be a $4 move with a average true range of, right now the average true range of the S&P is, looks like it's ranging between 1330 and 32. No, wait. Let me show what the average. I'm gonna say $13. Probably $13 a day move is probably the average. Yesterday was an exceptional high day, big move. So with that, that's all I have to say about this. Any last minute questions before we shut this thing down and move on to our weekend?
Nope.
I thank everybody for coming. I appreciate your inputs, your questions. Have a safe weekend. Stay safe. Keep your powder dry. Don't take trades unless they set up the way you want them. And then set your targets, set your stops, and manage your trades. With that, take care. Have a good weekend. We'll see you Monday.
Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend. See you next week.